listening to Opening the Harp Chakra, the podcast, bringing you beautiful, healing, magical harp music and talking to the artists that create it. I'm your host, Jay Michaels. Thank you so much for being with us today. Today's featured harpist is a performer, a teacher, a scholar. She's really a pioneer in the field of historical harps. She has a Doctor of Music degree. She can be heard in over 40 albums and soundtracks, and this covers all kinds of different styles, including medieval, Baroque, Celtic, orchestral, contemporary, and more. And she's with us today. Her name is Cheryl Ann Fulton. Hi, Cheryl. So nice of you to be here.
Hey, Jay. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I just love the name of your podcast, Opening the Harp Chakra. I just think it's fantastic.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you saying that. Before we get started, you mentioned that you've got a little surprise for us.
Yes, if folks listen all the way through to the end of the podcast, I have a special Harp Secrets surprise for those people who are interested.
Excellent. A Harp Secrets holiday surprise today on the podcast.
Yes.
All right, so stay tuned for that. Excellent. So, Cheryl, what first attracted you to the harp, and when did you start playing the harp?
Well, my mother told me that I was about 3 years old, and I started imitating harps and asking for harps, and she had no idea how I even knew about harps. And then right around the holiday season, I was 4.5 years old. My parents took me to a performance of the Nutcracker Suite. And it's one of my earliest childhood memories. And what I remember is I don't remember anything about the dancing or anything else. What I remember is sitting there in my little 4.5-year-old body and looking down on the stage. And there were these two golden columns of rising out of the orchestra. And whenever they would move backwards, this sound would come out. And I still remember feeling this whole body ecstasy. Like I heard that sound and it's like my whole body just resonated. Like, wow, what is that? And then they would go up and I'd wait and wait and wait. And then they go back and I would just be thrilled. So there was just some kind of inborn connection to the sound of the harp that was there right from the beginning.
So is that still your favorite part of the Nutcracker with the harps?
Oh, for sure. Although, the whole Nutcracker is pretty amazing, but yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah. But that's the cherry on the top there.
Yes.
So, hey, we should listen to some of your music. We've got a piece called Quia Ergo Femina. Could you introduce this?
This is the first piece from the soundtrack of the film I made called The Harps in the Trees. And this is a film that chronicles a journey I made with my harp students who perform in my medieval harp choir called Angelorum. And we made a pilgrimage to Scotland, to the Highlands. And most of us play medieval harps made by Ardeval Harps, and they're located in Strathpfeffer up in the Highlands of Scotland. And so we took our harps up there and we went out in the forest and played music for the trees where the wood for our harps came from. And so this is a piece of medieval music that I arranged for medieval harp. And I just thought the spirit and the mood of it captured a certain quality that we felt in the forest there in Scotland.
So that's the music of Cheryl Ann Fulton, Quia Ergo Femina, from the film The Harps in the Trees. So nice. So you've been teaching online for quite a while, 9 years now?
Yes, it's at least 9 years. I can hardly believe it myself. I
You were a
started,
pioneer in this field, right?
yeah, I was a pioneer in historical harps, and I'm a pioneer again in this field. I think it's in my chart, or my astrological chart, or my nature, that I just have that pioneering job to do. So it happened because there was a harp student at the University of Southern California in the Thornton School of Music studying early music, and she wanted to do a minor in historical harps. So they contacted me, and I said, sure, but I wasn't willing to travel down there, and twice a month or whatever. It was just too much. So I said, I'm willing to try it online. And my student, who's just wonderful, wonderful student, was totally game for that. And that's how I started. And she did her complete master's and doctorate, including her recitals, which I attended virtually, um, all basically online. We did meet together a few times in person over the years. Um, but that was the beginning of
Mm-hmm.
2018. I started studying the practice of creating online courses, and I signed up with a company called Miracy and began to learn about how to create great online courses. And then in 2019, I actually started productions on the first Harp Secrets Foundations course. And I had a professional videographer. It was a very big undertaking. It was very interesting because it took a tremendous amount of work, but none of us had any idea that we were facing a pandemic, and that, in fact, online courses would become, we'd be jettisoned, into this online course universe. So the timing was pretty amazing, but I created my Harp Secrets, the foundations of my touch and tone technique, and it has 24 professional videos and 40 pages of text and 24 pages of musical examples. Um, and it's a 5-module course. So far, it's just gotten rave reviews from everybody who's taken it. So it's up and available, and I hope to be expanding into different kinds of courses in 2021. And then the thing I'm introducing in this course, which, 30 years ago, if I tried to talk about this, especially at Indiana University, where I was in the music school, people would just roll their eyes. But it's really about the experience of prana, or energy, chi energy, what I call resonant breath. And we're now at a time when the connection between practices such as yoga and Tai Chi, and musical mastery and the playing of musical instruments, that the relationship between the use of prana and breath and that chi energy is now, it's more acceptable, and not only acceptable, but important to talk about that and learn about it. And that is something that was in my playing from the beginning. And in this course and over the years of teaching, I've been able to carefully articulate a way for students to gain access to that. And it's a very body-based feeling and technique. It's not just a thinking process or ideas. It's real movements that anybody can use. And it's also not about this technique is right or this technique is better than that one or anything. What I'm teaching in this course can really be applied to many different ways of playing the harp, and allow the harpist to, number one, understand what's healthy, how to avoid repetitive stress, injuries and just basic healthy practices, as well as it's the beginning steps towards more masterful playing in terms of real control over nuanced articulation and not just playing equal notes. Equal notes or playing evenly becomes one of a myriad of choices that the harpist has. And actually, let's face it, one of the least used, right? I mean, real music, how much do other musicians really always play in equal notes? So there's that. And then the third big thing is that feeling of connecting with the energy flow and how to create breath on a pluck string instrument.
Can we play some more of your music?
Oh, it'd be wonderful.
Well, this next one I really love because, of course, I love the harp, but I also love and play the viola da gamba. Now, this has both, which is just so good. It's called The Poet, right?
Yes. So the performance is myself and my long-term colleague, Roy Weldon, who's a great viola da gamba player and also an incredible composer. We actually first started playing in 1976 when I was an undergraduate at IU and he was a graduate student. And we were both students of Thomas Binkley at the Early Music Institute. This piece, though, was inspired by my experiences at Asilomar in Monterey, California. From 1989 till 2000, I was the harpist for a year-end spiritual retreat that took place at Asilomar that was headed by Brew Joy and David Spangler. David Spangler was one of the original folks at Findhorn in Scotland. And they had this gathering every year to celebrate the new year. And I was the harpist. And also, almost every year, the poet that came was David White. So I named the piece for him, but the actual themes of the music really come from the seashore at Asilomar and the ocean and the different moods and quality of the ocean, and also just the feeling of being at that retreat and welcoming in the new year in a kind of a soulful and conscious way. And the piece just really flowed out of that experience.
That is so beautiful. The poet, Roy Weldon, playing the viola da gamba, and our guest today on the harp, Cheryl Ann Fulton. Cheryl, can you tell us about your connection to the American Harp Society?
Yes, I love the American Harp Society. I served on the board for 8 years, I think it was, and really enjoyed it. I currently still serve on the literature committee, and I am right now just finishing up. I have one more section to write on an article for the American Harp Journal that I was asked to write about online teaching. So that article will appear in the winter issue. But I loved serving on the American Harp Society. I'm also thrilled because in the years that I've been a harpist, starting way back, when I was a student of Jane Weidensall, who was one of the editors of the Harp Journal, the American Harp Society was almost exclusively oriented toward the double action pedal harp. And it's just been really wonderful to see how that society has become more open and inclusive and is really now interested in all kinds of harps and supporting the making of music and compositions for all kinds of harps. As a matter of fact, recently, the literature committee we just okayed a grant for the composition of a solo piece for contemporary lever harp.
We've got another song. This one is called Arizona. Can you introduce us?
Yes. So Arizona, it's performed on my contemporary lever harp built for me by Robert Bunker. And it's a beautiful lever harp that's all gut strung. It was also the inspiration for the Kithara Nova that I co-designed with John Wessling, having in mind that I wanted to create a contemporary lever harp that was more like historical harps and not sort of a training wheels for the pedal harp, so to speak, or then,
Right.
taking that metallic bass, thick center and nylon top kind of aesthetic, but having the aesthetic of all gut strings from bass to treble. And that kind of a tone is the tone that I wanted for my lever harps. So this and the poet were both recorded on that harp. This particular piece, I was on a drive across the desert with my dear friend and producer of the videos of my Harp Secrets and the engineer for Once a Future Harp. We were driving across the desert towards Phoenix at nighttime. And I was gazing up at the stars, and it was like dry, crisp, beautiful air. And, I'm just dreaming about it. And all of a sudden, an F-sharp Phrygian scale started going in my mind. Those of you who know modes know, like, Phrygian doesn't usually occur in F-sharp. It's kind of an unusual tone for that. It's related to key of D major, but it was distinctly F-sharp Phrygian. And then we arrived very late. And the next morning I got up and I took out the harp. I set it to that tuning. And this piece just kind of came right out, almost like complete from beginning to end with almost no thought whatsoever. And so it's a really fun piece to play as well. So, but the inspiration just came right from that starry desert sky.
from the album The Once and Future Harp. It's Arizona. So you mentioned the one harp, but you actually have 5 different harps that you used on this album. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, there are 5 harps on that
Yeah,
album.
just 5. Yeah.
I currently own about
Mhm.
21 harps.
Okay. Yeah, that's almost enough. Yeah.
It's almost enough. Yeah. I have
Almost. Yeah, you're getting there.
Right. I borrowed a Bray harp from one of my students just so I could at least have one Bray harp as well, large Bray harp. But
Oh.
on the Once a Future harp, I play triple harp on my Bassett Jones Welsh triple harp built in 1850, and I also use my contemporary lever harp. Built by Robert Bunker, and 3 different medieval harps. 2 of them built by Rainer Terrau of Germany, and 1 by David Brooks of the United States. What I enjoy about playing the pieces and why do I have so many harps? Number 1, as a historical harpist, I just sort of have to have the right harp for the right music. Just what I have to do. Not everybody has to do that, but to me it makes a big difference. Through that rigorous process of pursuing that, in historical harp and doing degrees in it, etc., it developed a level of sensitivity and such that you wouldn't get normally otherwise. And therefore, what I really love is being able to get the real colors out of each individual harp that are so different. And my colleague Dan was able to capture on the Once a Future harp. He really was able to capture the way the color of the harp of each individual harp is so different, and the way I get that color out of the harps.
Well, let's listen to another piece of your music. This is called Winter Song.
Yeah, and Winter Song, this is a good example of the color of the harps and wanting that color of winter. It was I composed this in the south of France when I was on a tour doing a project for the CD that became Logai Saber, and it's a CD of all music of the troubadours from that Cathar region in France. And the poem is by a troubadouriste. That's a female troubadour who was born around 1140. And the poem basically says, the season of cold weather has now arrived with frost and snow and mud. The birds are silent and none of them wants to sing. So this piece was composed to accompany the recitation of that poem. And on the recording Logai Saber, I play it with a native speaker who recites the poem in the original Languedoc, the original language. And for Once and Future Harp, it's just played as a harp solo.
So we just heard the winter song, Cheryl Ann Fulton. That was lovely. Thank you. You've got some future projects, one of them involving astrology.
Yes, I've become very passionate about astrology this year, especially because anybody who knows even a little bit about astrology knows that 2020 was like the year of all years with astrologically speaking, which helps one to understand what we're going through. I took a course with master astrologer Rick Levine online, absolutely loved it. So I'm now sort of actively pursuing that as a hobby. And so for the great conjunction that's occurring on December 21st, the winter solstice, there is a grand or great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn at 0 degrees Aquarius. So this represents a huge shift from what we've been under for several years before, but particularly in 2020. So in celebration of that, I'm going to create a recording and then a video over top of a piece from 1220, because this Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in this place, the last time it occurred was 800 years ago. So I'm going to do a piece from that time, and then I'm going to do my performance of the tune, The Butterfly. And that's because many of the astrologers, many other people, are likening what we're currently going through to the metamorphosis of a butterfly. So we've been in the consuming caterpillar phase of just eating up our environment, and basically now we're in that phase. We've gone into the chrysalis and we've become just this amorphous, chaotic goop, right? And we're in the process of transforming and emerging on the other side as the butterfly. I don't know how many years it's going to take till we get there, but it's a beautiful process. It's something that can help us understand the challenges, the difficulties we're going through, which also present us with opportunities.
I'm looking forward to hearing and seeing that. Will that be on your YouTube channel?
Yes, I will put it up on my YouTube channel. Yes.
We'll include a link to your YouTube channel, of course, your website, your Harp Secrets, iTunes, and other places where people can purchase your music. Before I let you go, you have a surprise for us, for the listeners.
For all of you that have listened through, if you would like to take the Harp Secrets Foundations course, if you go to the Harp Secrets website, just email me and send me the words Harp Chakra Secrets, and I will send you a coupon code for $50 off the price of the lifetime access. And this will be good from now through the holiday season, all the way to Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2021. So just go to the website, send me an email, and send me the words Harp Chakra Secrets.
Well, we got your beautiful music. We got to really talk with you in great detail, and we get a present. That is so nice. Cheryl Ann Fulton, thank you so much for being on the podcast. This was wonderful.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you so much. And blessings to everybody out there.
Excellent. Thank you. And to you as well. If you have questions or guest suggestions, please email me at openingtheharpchakra@yahoo.com. We've also included links to PayPal and Venmo if you'd like to contribute to the production of this podcast. Please subscribe, please share, please tell your friends. Thank you so much for listening. In the coming weeks, we have more beautiful harp music from around the world. I'm Jay Michaels. Thank you. Peace. Namaste.